we dead, or maybe just live around these feet.
I remember enjoying Ubisoft games all the way back in 2013 much more than I do now with their current titles. Back then, they released games like Black Flag, Splinter Cell Blacklist, and Watch Dogs. I have recently played Blacklist and it was some real fun. Why didn't I make a video about it? Well, it didn't really come to my mind. Black Flag is also my #1 Assassin's Creed game, but now I really want to talk about Watch Dogs. Wait, 2013 was almost 10 years ago? So when Watch Dogs was released, the reviews were ranging from mediocre to okay, but most of it were people pretty mad about the graphical downgrades the game went through. Don't worry Cyberpunk, you're still king. So, is Watch Dogs worth playing in 2023? That's not going to age well, the year ends in 2 months. Okay, 2023/2024. Well, I started playing the game for fun, but halfway through my run, I decided to record some free roaming gameplay and talk about it. So far, the game is far from perfect, but still offers a highly enjoyable experience. First, I would like to talk about the setting and the overall atmosphere of the game. Graphically, downgrades or not, it still holds up pretty well. In fact, it manages to look good even after all these years. Remember, we're talking about a PS3 game here, back when explosions and giant monsters were real cool and most games didn't really bother to offer relaxing sequences. In Watch Dogs, I constantly caught myself going for walks while playing some music, just like what I do in real life. What encouraged me even further to sock it all in was the fact that the world itself is an adaptation of Chicago. Even with some landmarks scattered across the map you can check in and read a few lines about, I just loved the fact that I could remotely explore a city like Chicago. In typical Ubisoft fashion, the world is full of diverse activities to do in a way that easily surpasses their later games, and even show how checklisty their recent content is. Here your side missions are a variety of car chases, solving world puzzles, infiltrating gang hideouts, and preventing street crimes. Also, there are tons of minigames scattered across the world, like an AR parkour minigame, chess puzzles, playing mobile games that the game calls digital trips. The game really undersells this part because these have a huge variety of their own, starting with destroying the world with a spider-like tank, sneaking past aliens, driving through a zombie-infested version of hell, flying, and even fighting freaking cyborgs. Whenever I decided to go from point A to point B, unless I used fast travel, I almost never reached point B without ever passing by points A1, A2, and A3 first. So assuming we finally reached point B, story missions are exactly what you would expect from an open-world action-adventure game. Call it GTA with hacking if you want to. The story is not terrible, but it's not so great either. The same goes for Aiden Pierce, a hacker vigilante trying to avenge his family, and everyone around him is urging him to just let it all go. It feels like you've seen it all before 1,000 times, without the hacking bit, but it still didn't bother me very much. In fact, I really like Noam Jenkins' performance as the voice of Aiden Pierce, who is sometimes a loving uncle, or at others blackmailing gangsters or threatening to beat criminals into a pulp. One of the aspects that could have used more work in Watch Dogs is the on-foot movement. The walking animation is smooth, but it might be way too slow, rendering it a bit impractical. Also, parkour feels like it's lacking momentum. In a game where foot chases happen a little frequently, they have the potential to be much more fun. Let me just clarify that this aspect could have been better, but it's nowhere close to put me off. I never felt like, ah man, another parkour sequence. Nope, I just didn't get the satisfaction I hoped to find. However, I do admire the fact that they fixed this in the sequel. The shooting was also one of the aspects that didn't really age so well. Again, I didn't hate it, but most weapons feel like they have no weight to them, or no recoil at all. However, when I saw reviews upon the game's release, people praised the shooting back then, so I'll just let it slide and add it to my Red Dead Redemption 2 spoiled me section. I also noticed that if you knock out an enemy and then decide to shoot him, you won't be able to, as the hitbox will have disappeared by then. I noticed the same issue in Splinter Cell Blacklist too, but at least in Watch Dogs, it doesn't really matter since no one can wake them up once you knock them out. The hacking bit was quite impressive, especially for being the first attempt. Making things move around on their own around enemies to make them question their very own existence never ceased to be fun. I found myself enjoying taking out groups of enemies without even entering the restricted area myself, simply by jumping from one camera to another, luring them to interactive objects that cause explosions when hacked. However, the true best method to play the game is John Wicking it with a silenced pistol and dozens of headshots. However, this won't work in the later parts of the game where Chicago starts giving away free helmets for Christmas. Car chases might be the weakest part of the action because of one dumb decision. You cannot shoot while driving. This means you only resort to ramming and hacking traps like traffic lights and road blockers. Hacking them is pretty good, but it's certainly not enough to carry the entire car chasing action, especially if you're riding a motorbike, which takes away the option to ram the enemy vehicle. The driving system itself is super arcadey but very enjoyable, especially when you use the slow-mo focus to avoid incoming vehicles. I also appreciate the hacking minigame, albeit simple, but it's fun and they never overused it. Overall, with a beautiful open world, entertaining gameplay, serviceable story, and missed opportunities in terms of both on-foot and car chases, I would still recommend Watch Dogs in late 2023. Have you played Watch Dogs recently? Tell me about it in the comments. Thank you for sticking around till the end. Adios!